St. Genevieve is known for its rich history and rare buildings, but there's one thing that not many people know about. This is the story of Celadon. Celadon was a Métis man who stole Indian women and ran off with them. He was accused of murder after the death of one of the women. This story is being brought back to life here in St. Genevieve, using authentic buildings and costumes. This is one of the first movies made here in historical St. Genevieve.
The protagonist of the story would really be Celadon, who was a Métis or mixed blood man here in St. Genevieve. He was kind of a hunter or trapper.
Celadon is about a happening in the 18th century in this area. It deals with this hunter who comes into this area, and his name is Celadon, and he brings an Indian woman with him. And the whole story, revolves around Celadon and his desire to have this woman with him on his annual hunt.
Just keep your hands kind of quiet, because otherwise we see a lot of this on screen. Okay? Yeah.
Well, I've had a really small part in the movie, just kind of a comic relief portion. I play a guy whose last name is Roy, who's a French Creole man working in the Spanish garrison. And so our scene is just kind of a funny, little departure from the serious nature of the movie. But what I love about it is the movie gives you a chance to take what was actually an historic event and kind of illustrate it, bring it to life.
Well, it's a big project, and there's lots of different pieces to think about. And one of the things that, I've tried to do is to anticipate and help the director, hold all the different pieces and keep track of little shots, for instance, that have to get done. And I'm also on set. Dan is also the cinematographer, so he's really behind the camera. And so one of my jobs is to pay attention to what's going on on the set or in the whole environment, and tell people to be quiet or just notice things that might need to be either adjusted or pay attention to.
They actually probably were not allowed to do any major changes to the house. They moved some of the pieces that we have around so that they would have room for their equipment. They brought a lot of their own props in that we actually do not have in this house. For instance, they brought in lamps and candlesticks and things like that we don't have in the house on display because we never light a fire in the house for obvious reasons.
Well, everyone I've talked to has been really fascinated and interested that this is going to be a movie here in St. Genevieve about an actual historic event that occurred in the 1700s. So I think people are excited to see the movie completed and looking forward to seeing the real thing.
That story needs to be told, because that type of story, just people don't know about it. And it has been recorded and people can read about it, but if he's making this into a documentary, maybe he will reach a wider audience that way. And I think that part of French history just isn't told. It just isn't told. It kind of, maybe it's exaggeration for emphasis, but there's history beyond the 13 colonies.
Even though not many people know about Celadon, they will when the movie Celadon is released. People don't know much about French colonial history, and hopefully this movie will be one step closer to people knowing more about this area and the history around it.